This video is part 2 of the connector installation for CPM and PSM in Privilege Cloud. To achieve this, first we'll run a script called connector check prerequisites. This helps us ensure we have the right network connectivity, resources, and software in place ready for the CyberArk software. We'll then install the connector management agent. This helps us push out the CyberArk software and execute the necessary files to install the CPM, which is the Central Policy Manager, and the PSM, Privileged Session Manager. This will report back into the web interface of Privilege Cloud to ensure the components have been installed successfully. To install a Privilege Cloud connector, first we need to go to Identity Administration and set the installer user password. The installer user password is found under All Service Users. And here's the installer user. So first, I like to copy the username. And then up here, go to Actions and Set Password. When you set a password, make it an alphanumeric password with no special characters. And I've prepared one earlier. This password gets reset every 24 hours. And once that's set, we'll go over to the connector server and run the prerequisite script. Before we run the prerequisite script, you need to download it from the CyberArk Marketplace. Just go to the Marketplace and go to the CyberArk integrations and type in CyberArk Privilege Cloud Tools and download this item here. You will also need to download the Secure Tunnel software and Group Policy Objects, and that's found under CyberArk Privilege Cloud. Go to Components, and you'll need the Secure Tunnel and the GPO items. Over on the connector server, I placed the Privilege Cloud Tools zip file on the C CyberArk folder and also the Privilege Cloud Secure Tunnel installer. Before I run the script to do the prerequisites check, we'll go to the domain controller here and I'll just show you how we've set up the group policy inheritance to be disabled in the OU where the two connector servers will be placed. Later on, we'll apply our group policy hardening GPOs to secure these servers. So we'll unzip the Privilege Cloud Tools. We'll go into the connector management prerequisites. We'll unzip that. And we'll open PowerShell as administrator. So we'll run the connector check prerequisites. It will ask us a piece of information that we need to grab from the welcome email sent from CyberArk. I'll paste the information here now. And the first thing it will ask us is the Privilege Cloud portal URL. We'll stick that in and our tenant ID. From here, it will do the appropriate checks. You do need to provide CyberArk your public IP address, and that needs to be approved in the backend to allow access to the vault. So as you can see here, I've got a couple of problems. We need to disable IPv6, and the secondary logon, we've got to make sure that is running. So in a moment, I'll show you how that's fixed. In this case, I'm going to fix these issues. I'm going to hit no to deploy RDS, and I'm not going to do the connection test. Okay, so to fix the IPv6 and secondary logon, we're going to run the dash troubleshooting flag on the script, and we'll select number 1 to disable IPv6, and then number 2 to enable secondary logon service. When we rerun the script now, we should see that it passes. In this case, I'm going to deploy the RDS service. This is installing the Windows feature of RDS, of course. So press enter to restart this server. So logging back onto the connector server, the script will rerun and finalize the RDS installation. So now the script is asking us to run the CPM connection test. We'll hit yes on that. And now we need to provide the installer user credentials. I'll just grab those now. And now the script is finished. So we can now go over to the connector management portal and do the steps over there. So back over in the Privilege Cloud portal, we'll click on the application switcher here and go to connector management. So now we'll go and add a connector. This will load the script that we need to run on the connector server to install the management agent. So here's my script. I will copy that to the clipboard, go back over to the connector server. I'll open up a new PowerShell this time and run the script. This will download the agent, install it, and shortly this will appear in connector management. So the agent is now installed. Let's go over to connector management and do the next task. So back over on connector management, we'll close the add connector script and we'll refresh our browser. Now we see I've got a connector server that's running in Azure in this case, and now I'm going to click on the three dots here and add component. In this case, I'm going to add both the CPM and PSM components, and this will be an active CPM. So we'll leave this here as active for the CPM, but first we need to provide the installer username and password. And I'm going to provide an application ID for the CPM. We'll call this prod-CPM. If you leave this blank, it will use the CPM's hostname as the application ID. I'm going to also provide my domain admin credentials so that the PSM can be installed. And now we can finalize the wizard. The wizard does remind you that you need to run the prerequisite script. We've already done that in the previous video. And we'll select install. So the screen will refresh, and as you can see, the CPM components are being installed, as well as the PSM components. This screen will refresh from time to time, but if you want to refresh it, you can select the refresh button up here. So that took around 15 minutes to install. We now have the PSM and CPM components installed. I'll now go and repeat the same steps on the second connector server. For the second connector server, I've set the CPM in passive mode. This means the second server will be a DR CPM server if required in future. The CPM and PSM have now been installed on the second connector server. We can go back to connector management and have an overview of all the connectors that are active and their component status. In the next video, I'll go through the identity connector installation.